Saxophonist, composer, bandleader, mentor, and blithe spirit Big Joe Burrell was the living embodiment of composer, musician, producer Quincy Jones's definition of jazz, soul, and science. But as musicians and music lovers, both in and outside the Green Mountain State, will still readily attest, Burrell, who died at the age of 80 in 2005, also exemplified Duke Ellington's highest compliment for any musician, beyond category. For while much of the material performed on stage and on record could fall neatly into neighborhoods like blues or the American popular song, the truth of the matter is that Burrell's live and studio efforts both celebrated and lovingly defied any such narrow casting. As legendary Vermont-based guitarist Paul Asbell noted, "When I first met him, musically what was clear to me was that Joe had the older vocabulary of jazz players like Coleman Hawkins, as well as the blues vocabulary as played by jazz musicians. As soon as he started singing, it was clear he was much more than a jazz player. He had the feel of a real blues singer. It's like hearing someone who plays like Wes Montgomery and Jimi Hendrix at the same time."
Somebody better let me talk to my baby before I lose my mind. Someday, baby, won't be long. You long for Big Joe and he be gone. Teardrops will be falling down like rain.
Burrell's voice and saxophone turned blues, jazz, and popular song evergreens into ultra-moving, nuanced, and unforgettable tales on the ups and downs of romance and life. You could dance to it, as countless fans both in and outside the United States did with great fervor. But the sound and sincerity lingered long after the music stopped. Big Joe Burrell's passionate and lifelong affair with music began in his hometown of Port Huron, Michigan, where he was born on February 9th, 1924. He had a particular fascination and love for the music of pianist and bandleader William Count Basie, another artist whose output wed innovation, soul, and accessibility. One of 7 children, Burrell began playing saxophone in his teens, which led to countless gigs both in the United States and Canada. Among his many memorable musical encounters was the period in which he performed and recorded with blues great B.B. King. Burrell's soon-to-be indelible mark on the Vermont music scene began after leaving Quebec, where he'd been living for a gig at the Rooster Tail. He'd originally planned to only stay in Vermont for 2 weeks, but like countless others who fell head over heels with Vermont, Burrell tersely stated, "I didn't want to go back to the city. I like to be where I know people."
Come back, baby. Come on back home where you belong. Yes, come on.
After settling in Burlington, Burrell was asked if he would sit in for a monthly blues night at Hunt's, a storied Burlington night spot. Like legions of leaf peepers in autumn, crowds began flocking to Hunt's, and the band formerly known as Kilimanjaro became the Unknown Blues Band with Big Joe Burrell. Burrell's musical experience, soulful sincerity, and the band's equally rousing consistency led to growing popularity both within Vermont and far beyond its borders, including a highly successful tour of the Soviet Union in 1991. Burrell also served as a sometimes gruff but nurturing mentor for the likes of saxophonist Dave Grippo, trumpeter Joey Somerville, and guitarist Paul Asbell, among other notable Vermont musicians. For those who were not fortunate enough to have seen or heard Big Joe Burrell, one need only seek out his sensual, melodic truth-telling. It can be found on his readings of blues standards such as 1961's A Dream Last Night. More recent efforts like Teardrops Falling from his 2003 CD, I'm Just a Lucky So-and-So, and the blues staple Every Day from the Unknown Blues Band's 1983 CD, Live at Hunt's. Each of the aforementioned is drenched in Burrell's commitment to exploring and sharing the joy and power of song.
Well, it's you, pretty baby. Aren't you are in the news? All right now.
Thank you for spending time with me and Big Joe Burrell. I'm Reuben Jackson. Learn more about Vermont's music at bigheavyworld.com, home of the Tiny Museum of Vermont Music History.